Like,
Yeah, I got you, dude. All right, see you, dude.
excellent.
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't talking about AB or trans issues because I can't argue that anymore. I'm going to lose my mind
Ever
on the
again.
left
I never
side.
ever want to talk about that subject ever again.
I
Never.
can't do it. I mean, I will defend, but like sometimes people will bring me up specifically for that, and it just like it's yeah. Anyway, that's why I asked. But hello, Approach. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you too. You know, Lil.
What?
Never mind. Nothing.
No,
Not
no,
gonna-
you have to say whatever you're gonna say now.
No. I was just gonna talk about what you were talking about, not wanting to talk about the trans situation and defend the trans situation, and I I agree with not wanting to talk about it. You know, it's just I was gonna say that it gets hard being on the left. I was just talking about this and debating for the left. I can imagine how exhausting it might be.
Well, I just like I grew up with like people who were a part of that community. Like I gay people on both sides of my family. Like literally, have no cousins because everyone is gay, kind of situation. That happens to
You're
be,
for
but like they're like I grew up with trans people within my like as like the chosen family, and it was never weird for me or anything, and so I'm like used to it. Um, like I always knew something was different, and then you just like find out like oh they were a boy, now they were a girl. I'm like, oh, that makes sense because they we're talking about 85-year-old people, right? Like my great uncle came out when he was 15.
Yeah,
This
we're not, see, like I said,
is
for us, when it comes to the
Boston.
community, I'm from LA, or you know what I'm saying? Like you know that like I grew up very much in the community of the LGBTQ all around me and friends and so on, and
Yeah, I'm from
have
Frisco.
yeah, same with all West over here. So I have
What'd you say? You're from where?
I'm from Frisco, San Francisco.
Oh yeah, I'm from Oakland. I'm like sixth gen
Yeah,
Oakland and seven
right
San
over the
Francisco on
bridge.
one lineage. But that's what I'm talking about. Like they were out like in San Francisco and yeah.
I gotta ask you then. So, you know, we've had the discussion a lot, and I hear a lot of people talk about the subject. I don't hear a lot of people saying that the entire community should be shunned and ran out of town. All I mainly hear is the transitioning of children and the rugs that come along with such
Okay,
scenarios,
this is
and
why I wanted to.
yeah, but
I mean, like it's not real. That's the thing. Like a lot of these talking points and what people are scared
Lily,
about isn't happening.
Lily, it is real. I can show
Yeah,
you the statistics on it. It is real.
there's
They
not
are
anyone who's getting a surgery who's under the age of 18. I think there's been two in history, and it's top surgery when they were 17.
okay. Well, we already know that I Am Jazz started the whole deal, right? So, but I mean,
Who?
it's even to the
Wait, I
point.
am Jazz. What does that mean?
It was a reality show on TV that was reference to a boy
No,
who
because
turned
this has
into a
been
girl.
people have been identifying as trans
No. I
forever,
know
even
that
as
people have been
children.
identifying. Look, I'm from Orlando, baby. We've been doing this shit for years, right?
Yeah,
But
so that didn't start it.
and the thing is it's the first of all the and I thought we weren't going to talk about this, but
I
anyway.
don't want to. That was the whole
Okay.
point.
well,
I'm just
actually, hold on real quick, guys. So, Lil, just the facts. She's such a sweetheart, and she will never yell and be mean to you and say anything wrong. She'll never put you down. Um,
Unless it's
and
ditched to me multiple
if
times.
and she's very smart. She comes from the community. She knows the community very well, and the people in the community, they get along with her so well. And plenty of them that come up on her panel when she's live. You might really enjoy this conversation with her, and she might really just kind of give you her facts. She's not going to put down anything you feel, except for the facts about the children and so on, without being an asshole at any point in time.
Thank you for saying that. And I will be an asshole if people continuously be an asshole to me, but it's you dish what I'll serve right back to you. But like generally speaking, I try not to be. And I don't host any lives. I am a mod on this amazing person who's a trans woman who is 65, Ash, 23, I think was it. But yeah, just someone who's like grown up with it is sort of an example. Like I did not turn out trans. I've known about it my whole entire existence. Since the 80s in California, at least in my area, it was taught just as a definition. I had a friend and a kid I babysat come out as trans, and I was with them through, or not the kid I babysat, but my friend, with them through the hormones and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm someone adjacent to the community.
Lil, I have friends that have transitioned and that are transitioning back. I have friends that are too scared to transition back. Like I have a lot of scenarios like this in my own life, right? But I am curious to see what Jess wants to say because
Go ahead.
Yeah. She's teacupped right now, but and I'll give you kind of a couple of the anecdotal stories I've had recently. So I have a friend who transitioned out of high school. They're like super passable and all that stuff, right? But they came to me and they said, "Hey," they'll say approach. I said, "Approach, like I want to be a boy again." They said, and I was like, "Cool, like do your thing, like." And then they mentioned it again recently, and then I have another anecdotal story of a friend who goes into my like local bar where I like to shoot pool sometimes and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're trans man, right? And I've gotten to having these discussions with them, and they're like, when I was about 20, I decided to go through some affirming care, and they pretty much convinced me to go through and do this. And now that I'm 27, I found out that I'm lesbian and that I am attracted to a certain type of female that I can't attract really anymore. And so they're going through that now. And there's a lot of other problems with the community, like, they're looked at as like a science experiment. They think it's hard for them to boggle down an actual relationship. A lot of them were not sexually active before they went through their transition, which I find to be an issue for a lot of them.
Yeah. And
then for children, that's an even worse scenario and more common scenario. So there's a lot of factors at play that I'm strong against. Leave the children alone. It should be accepted, not celebrated, because I see a lot of mental illness in the community, and I see a lot of very solid individuals too, but a lot of people who seem solid, but then one day they're just 100% not solid, and then they're solid again, and I see that stuff a lot.
I mean, and so again, like, I don't want to speak like on behalf. I'm going to reiterate relay what I've been told from both like the trans people I know who started presenting as a woman before, who are 85 now, and the people I know in the community currently. There does seem to be a sort of hesitancy from the trans community, regarding it being just sort of like there is concern from the trans community, from what I've gathered, about all of those issues for sure. I think education is super important. I would agree that like you need to have a lot of psychological evaluations and doctors' input and all of that kind of stuff.
I'm not buying it though. I'm not buying. Go ahead though. Go ahead. Please continue. But
it's sort of it seems to be a younger generation, and this is also goes with the gay community. Like for as long as I know, the LGB wanted to be separated from the T because one is a gender identity and one's a sexual orientation. They're not actually the same. And that has been reiterated for every single person that I know, at least.
It's a newer thing, right?
And so the trans issue is gender's a social construct. At what point do you feel like it's really hard to differentiate someone that just is like maybe just doesn't want to adhere to like general gender standards, and then you have kids that are trying to sever their own genitalia off. So I think that is like up to the parents' responsibility. My biggest thing is like how I grew up. You learn about intersex, you learn about female, male bodies, and you learn about transgender, like people who don't feel comfortable in their own skin. You don't need to go further than that. I think having a definition in case there is someone who is legitimately trans, at least identify what's going on. But I'm not going to agree with like I don't
Sure.
understand the forcing down
So,
people's
so
throats thing
here's
that people
here's
say.
my issue
They
because
also
I can
don't have
agree.
children in school.
I can agree with a lot of what you say, but here's my issue: is that one, I'm not buying that if more people were just more accepting, that it would be okay. And two, I'm not buying that people are born that way, especially when you find a house where all three kids just happen to be trans in that household, all born that way.
But yeah, that's
It's
statistically improbable.
well, so this is I mean you know your own community, and if you don't see it growing and the hive mindset behind that community to the point where it's gotten kind of toxic in some ways, that
I
I,
guess
I
I'm not
think.
familiar with the new generation of it, maybe.
Right. So this new generation of it. So being around this community in the 80s and the 90s, and watching what's happened now is kind of reminiscent because what happens is kids, teenagers, um, have body issues in general, as it is, and and then they have trying to fit in issues. So if you don't fit in with the popular crowd, and you don't fit in with the sports jocks, and you don't fit in with, the smart people, you're trying to find a place where you fit in, right?
Yeah.
And now, and in the 90s, it was the girls, the high school girls, the early college girls that were like, oh, hey, we're bi, right? And they were very loud, and they were very um, outspoken, and they caused a lot of harm to the community itself. And then they went about their lives and got married and had kids and didn't think back on it. And they left it for the LGBT community to clean up. And that's
Yeah,
what's
I am
happening.
aware of that
Right.
from the old gays in my life.
Exactly. And now what you're seeing is the exact same thing, but in a much bigger aspect and in a much louder space, right? And so
Mhm.
now we've got really loudmouth kids putting forth their ideas of what they think life should be. And on top of that, we've got teachers and principals and government people going, yeah, let's listen to these 15 and 14 and 16-year-olds. Let's listen to them and do what they say. And what we've done, not only is it going to hurt that community, but what we've done is we've told parents, validate your children's feelings no matter what they say. Validate them. And what that's done for parents is gotten them to stop asking questions. Because sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes that that change in behavior, that change in how you feel, can have a lot deeper meaning. Something could be happening to those children, and now we won't even know because we've just been told to validate their feelings instead of going, hey, something's going on with my kid, and I don't know what it is. Let me take them to a therapist or whatever the situation be and find out, is there something going on with my kid, right?
So,
So now
yeah.
this is it's and we're seeing it play out in all different kinds of scenarios. We're seeing that happen where kids really have traumatic crap going on in their lives, and they're outwardly, okay, I'm in this community, so believe everything I say, it's just this, and parents validating that and never getting to the core of the issue. And then now you have kids harming other kids. You have kids harming themselves because you never got to the core of that issue.
Yeah, and I think it's tricky, right? Like I 1,000% understand what you're saying and agree. Um, for like, I guess the question um, is it sort of like, how do I say this exactly? Like, I think that it's important to acknowledge that trans people exist, and I think that it
Absolutely.
is important to listen to your children. But
Absolutely.
I agree that there is a lack of parental involvement and acceptance without further discovery. What's hard is like, how do you tell?
So this is the way I look at it. Once again, I said it before. You should accept, not celebrate. And the problem here is that it comes from a more Marxist point of view these days. It creates this oppressed class when they're not as oppressed
as it's not they're not as pressed as they're being put out to be. They're creating this false oppression through propaganda. And so we've already marched for this. We've already, created laws for this. We give harsher penalties to people who are in the negative. But so far, from what I see in this country, it's way more accepted than when I grew up.
And that's going to
And
come, right? And that's why I don't think that, we say parents won't accept their kids. I think the millennials who are having children, who have children of that age now, right? We're not talking boomers anymore. We're talking millennials, and Gen Z are the ones who are having kids now, right? So
Gen X.
right. And Gen X, but Gen X, Gen X are having grandkids now for the most part. But I mean, we're old.
Gen Z's. Oh, I guess so. Jesus. Sorry, I'm from California. That's young for me. But yeah, you're right. Sorry.
So even with Gen X, right? We're the ones who fought for those rights that they have, right? We're the ones that marched with them. We're the ones that said, "Be you," right? I could go to a club back in the '90s, in the 2000s, go to a club, go into a bathroom. If a trans girl came into my bathroom, I'm not thinking twice about it, right? You're passing, you're coming in the girl's bathroom. Come on, sister, right?
Yeah.
But it was when it started becoming, we're going to make laws. So it started Obama, we're going to make laws that we can do this. Well, what that leads is to not the trans people, but the predator people, the men who put on a dress and go, "I'm a girl today," and that's, we've seen it happen, right?
Has there been a case of that, of someone pretending to be
Absolutely.
trans to go to the girls' bathroom?
Absolutely, many times.
100%.
Where?
Many.
I've tried to look this up before. I've never seen any.
In high schools, there was two issues. That's how the governor of Virginia got in, because there was a big issue with one kid that was in a high school dressed as a girl, went in and, essayed a girl. And then he got taken out, and they didn't want to make a big deal about it because, whatever, the whole trans issue. And he got transferred to another high school and did it again. And then the second father went to the school board, and he was arrested by the FBI for being a terrorist, right? Because he was like, "How did you guys know this guy did that in one school, didn't report it, let it go under the radar, then you put him in another school, he's a predator, and now he's essayed my daughter." And he got really, that's for real. That's how
I believe
the
you, I
governor
believe
of
you.
Virginia, that's how the governor of Virginia, he ran on that.
Yeah.
And that's how you got a Republican governor in Virginia. And now Virginia is red because people are like, okay, enough is enough. Now, I just want to put in a couple of points that you realize that, like with autism, which used to be a rarity, right? Now it's like 1 in every 5 kids, right? Is showing up on the spectrum. The chemicals in the water, the chemicals in the food.
Claudia,
Hey, darling.
I love you to death. Take it down 2 notches and keep it there. Go ahead.
What am I going to say?
I don't know. I'm saying
You're making the frogs gay.
no.
It's really affecting now. Why is it a generational thing now? You have more cases of basically, because what happens, it's the chromosomes. It screws up the chromosomes. It screws up your DNA. So we're dealing with sort of gender dysphoria is like a real physiological thing. And I am also have studied, and I've used homeopathy, but I've consulted homeopaths. Like I've gone to homeopathic doctors for like 35 years. And, a lot of issues, we're talking about, hey, so what's the deal? And I was basically directed to do some research on where there is, like, alcohol is really toxic in the 3rd generation. It really screws up the chromosomes in the 3rd generation. So you're looking at a deterioration of the DNA. So these are real issues that our society, as a humanity, we're going to deal with unless we really start thinking about how are these things affecting it. And it's done by design. Another thing is that if you want to emasculate men and castrate men, which is basically what these chemicals are doing, so you have a docile society, this is what we're dealing with. You know what I mean? So there's just like, I think that it's good to acknowledge, like, like if there is, cases in society where you have a lot of asthma or a lot of heart disease in children, Now we have chronic, this is what RFK is talking about, chronic diabetes, early stage, one in every, what, if 4 kids is like already diabetic, is like a type 2 diabetic, type 1 diabetic, insulin, and they're like 9 years old. So those are real issues. And then you have the issues about the physiological, basically
Claudia.
neutrality.
Claudia, can you specify each point just a little more so that like it's because
Yeah,
I don't have
I have some rebuttals to that, but
yeah and,
Well,
and,
it's
and you
just-
know what
it's not-
Claudia,
look-
25 seconds and land it. We'll let her reply.
Yeah, I'm just throwing some stuff out there. It's you guys do the research. These are real case studies. These are real statistics. So that's another thing to consider. I just don't think that children should be forced to basically alter their bodies before they're, because you have a lot of kids now detransitioning and they can't go back. That's an issue. And that there's a lot of big money in this new sort of trend of basically
10
transitioning people
seconds. Land it.
and people doing that. That's it. I'm done. I'm not going to say anything else, but
That's all right. No, so the way I moderate my lives is when people are talking their point, I'll try to give them the exact amount that I like 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, depending on the subject. And then if I feel it's coming close or I feel like you need a little more time, I'll let you know that your time's coming up and then you continue. That way that everyone gets kind of more an equal chance to get in there about whatever subject. But if it sounds
Right.
like if somebody's saying something that is absolutely easy to follow and legit, I'm going to let them go. But go ahead. Go ahead. Lil.
I'm just making a couple of points that, just whatever. It's just like, it's out there. It's out, it's out in medical journals. It's out in, so I think the big issue is that not letting the parents be involved, having kids, have surgeries before they're basically age of consent, right? If you start basically altering people's bodies before, then that's a problem. Because if it's an organic happening, a psychological, like you were saying, I grew up Gen X. We had a lot of kids that were dressing as girls, but we didn't have this thing and they grew out of it.
Let's give Lil a chance to respond here.
yeah.
I'm sure
So
she has something.
I there was kind of a lot there, and I feel like I've lost.
Well,
some
stick to any point. Stick to any point. You don't have to-
like the
yeah,
idea
you're
of
good.
like the water. I think that there are a lot of more chemicals and food dyes that aren't legal anywhere else. Like I can get behind that. I like specifically diabetes, like the amount of sugar that's in like things here. Like people come from Italy and they say that our pasta is sweet because we have sugar in it, and that's not in other stuff. Like I think that I'm a little hesitant to the cause of said issues that you brought up. I think is a little bit more.
It's not my opinion. It's actually medical journals.
From the
It's not my
water, the
opinion.
diabetes.
No, it's just the amount of chemicals and stuff that's in everything and all the products. You look at a juice, you look at it. It's not my opinion. This is why RFK was talking about this. This is, you do the research. It's not my.
Well, let her land her plane, and then and I'll let you know when you're about to land it.
So,
Go ahead.
so there's social transitioning, and then there is when you're talking about people transitioning. It's very rarely anywhere under the age of 16. I double checked my facts. I'm on the Human Rights Organization, HRC, Human Rights Campaign .org. It's very rare to start even hormones, and it's usually extensive therapy beforehand. Usually a child will have to unalive themselves or have a history of trying to self-mutilate when they were a child to even get hormones that are
20 seconds. Go ahead.
Sorry, the hormones that are like will cause permanent damage that people are concerned about. Social transitioning, though, that's just changing how you dress. And then there's no evidence. There's been 2 cases of people getting any sort of surgery before the age of 18. So I just want to make those facts clear. I'm really not behind the idea that all of these children who are 10, 11, 12 are making life altering decisions about their body, because it's not.
Can I let Facts? And you know what? I got something you can look up, Lil. Facts is actually teacup. So I'm not sure if there's more cases, but
Sorry.
That's okay. Are you familiar with the Children's Hospital in, is it Children's Hospital of Texas? That whistleblower doctor and the hospital was doing surgeries on minors, and then he got prosecuted for what, HIPAA violations or something, for putting the information out there, even though he was just showing that they were doing illegal surgeries.
Yep.
But that's illegal, right?
I
Well,
read it.
yeah, so I'm saying that I'm not even sure because I haven't looked into more if there is more cases out there right now of other hospitals doing it under the, behind the back of the public anyways. But that's one case right there. And then the guy who whistleblowed on it, he's looking at going to jail.
Yeah. And you do have to get, so normally how it goes is in order to get bottom surgery, you have to go through top surgery first.
Of course,
And so
that's a lot of work.
yeah, and so it's a long time until you can get there. Like, sometimes up to 10 years to even be approved step by step. And I also wanted to say too, real quick, I remember the big point I wanted to make. The idea that, of course, it's awful. The guy in the high school, he wore clothes and committed SA in the bathroom. The thing is, that's one case. People are going, like, men commit SA and will figure out a way to do it. A lot of us have been victim to it.
Let's not give them more reasons why.
No, I know, but I'm saying that, like, I don't know. I feel like it's this sort of
Happening in
thing, like gun
It's
control.
happening in penitentiaries as well. It's happening in penitentiaries
It's sort
as
of
well.
kind of the same argument that the left makes about gun control, which I'm not saying I believe in, but like, if they want to pew pew a school, they're going to figure out how to get a pew pew.
Well, I'm not going to get into pew pew control with you right now.
I know, but do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
It's not the
like,
same.
guys
All right,
that are
fine.
great, like, I don't want to associate rapists
Yeah.
with the trans community because it's a very rare circumstance, and I think it's way more harmful to people
hold
who are
on.
actually trans than it
Land
is.
it 10 seconds, and then I'm going to let Jess go. Go ahead. Okay, thank you. Jess, I know you got
So
something
that's
to
the
say.
thing. That's the thing, Lily. Though, when I say it's the loudmouths are harming the community, that's what I mean.
I
Right?
agree.
So what you're having is a lot of things that are being blamed on the community that are really just really predators in general, right? And it's but like when we say gender affirming care for minors, which is the numbers are actually pretty staggering, and it starts at age 6, is hormone blockers, right? So the hormone blockers are a seed hug, off label. And now even the UK, as of this year, officially, have stopped that because they've been doing these studies way longer than we have, and they've been letting it happen way longer than we have, and they're seeing the side effects of it, right? And there's many side effects other than worse side effects other than, hey, if I get top surgery, I can't go back, right? It leads to a lot of things, and so it's just I think every trans person I know says, would it have been easier for them to start transitioning earlier? Yes. Are they glad that they got to become an adult, go through the questioning of who they are before they did it, go through the therapy of who they are before they did it? Yes. But what we have now is a bunch of teachers, for the most part, a bunch of teachers who are trying to talk about these issues in a class that they're not trained to talk about. And so kids get a lot of mixed messages, I think, and kids are very vulnerable to those mixed messages. And so I think we need to more, instead of doing this in a school setting or on an app or whatever the situation be, is to educate parents, right? So since my son was little, I told him every day, I will love you no matter what. You can talk to me about anything. Nothing you can do will ever change my mind, right? Nothing you can say to me will ever change my mind about the way I feel about you. I don't care who you love. I don't care what you do. I will always love you. And I told him that every day since he was probably 5 years old. right? And so he has talked to me about everything in his life. I mean, I'm sure not everything. I'm sure there's things mommy doesn't need to know. But any major decisions he's made, any major life situations, he calls me. So, I think we need to educate parents on how to talk to their kids versus educating kids on how to not talk to their parents. And that's my
I mean, yeah, that seems logical to me.
That was pretty well
yeah.
put, actually. I mean, she's, Bag's always coming from different perspectives that I can always appreciate.
Thanks,
Because,
Coach.
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
What?
I need to drop pretty soon because I do have to work tomorrow. So
Well, go to
We
bed.
also need to drop kind of soon, actually. But
That's
yeah,
all
that
right.
makes sense to me. And it's just like the hormones that we're talking about, there's puberty blockers and hormones. Hormones are not usually given until 16, 17. And I think I'm also, it's a newer generation. I don't personally know much about how teachers are discussing it. I agree that they're probably very much not qualified. And I also just don't like how it's demonized. The community is demonized by right-wing media as much. And I feel bad. I think I'm on the same page as you. Like,
Is the
I feel
community
bad for the
is
people who are actually suffering in that community. And
hold on? Is the community really demonized by the right wing media? Because I'm trying to think of a case where the
I
right
mean, like
wing
you had
media.
Joe Rogan saying they're putting litter boxes, which was a completely false story. That
no,
you
that's
have,
definitely happening. That's definitely happening. I actually had a lady on my panel the other day that literally just withdrew her kid from a school because they did that.
I've never,
Yeah,
but there's
I've
never
heard
been
of
a
that.
single
No,
news
I've
story
heard of
ever
it.
that it validates that. There's literally no documentation, and
Well,
I just don't
I
like
don't know about the
until
litter
I see
boxes, but I
receipts,
know
I
there's
don't believe
schools.
it.
I know there's schools that allow kids to just identify whatever, however they
But do
want.
they have a litter box in the class? You know what I mean? Like
Well,
I'm with Jess.
no, that's
Like
crazy.
I think that it's upsetting because this particular community has the highest rates of
Well, Lil.
unaliving by strain like other people. I
Well,
can't say the
Lil.
H word, but like I hold on real quick.
Go
They
ahead.
have the highest self unaliving attempts and self unaliving rates of any sort of demographic. And I just feel like they're being used a little bit for political gain. And I don't
Well,
agree with a lot of the stuff that the left's doing either at
well,
all. It's
here's
just
the
upsetting
thing.
to me on both sides.
Here's the thing, though. And I'm sure Jess went to go probably find some litter box info, but whatever. That is a concern of mine, just because what I am seeing here is, well, I'm not going to get into the conspiracy side with you now, maybe on another time because it's kind of a long talk, but um, I'm seeing the community like, if I don't like, I hate to use the phrase, if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile, in a sense, and I don't mean that in the most negative way, but it seems that they're letting the community's imagination go so free that they'll take it through great lengths. And even the guy who wrote, I'll call it LGBTQ theory, right? Him and the other big author who wrote both of those books, LGBTQ theory, make a case for maps in their book. And that's like reaching. So then you have people who are breastfeeding their children, and they're male, and then you have people arguing for it, like, dude, that's been happening forever, it's fine, and
I have no idea what you're talking about, to be
so
honest.
I only know of two cases, one in Canada and one in Europe, but you find these cases where this man took, this trans person rather, took a certain hormone or what, so that they can lactate, so that they can feed their baby, or their the wife's their baby. And
Oh.
so yeah, and
I didn't
so
know you could do that.
so like when I say, like, you give them an inch to take a mile, right? Like, I don't mean that in a negative way to where it usually is used, but
Yeah.
in a sense, that's what's happening in the community right now. And so yes, they are looking really bad because of it. So when you hear demonizing from the right, it's probably because of cases like that, and then the people who are transitioning, or sorry, rather detransitioning, and the horrible way the community treats them. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of scenarios out there that
This is why I will continue to say accepted, not celebrated, because when you celebrate it, and I hope you don't hear that wrong, you know.
I understand.
Yeah, okay, good. So, so yes, there's a lot of stuff going on, and I'm surprised as someone who does as much research on the subject as you hasn't really found cases like this. Fax, did you find anything on that case?
Yeah, I found, look, this is what I find. I find these parents came and complained about it, school board denies it. School board member complains about it, school board denies it. School board member says something else about it, school board denies it. Parents come and say it, school board denies it. So, I mean, but the problem is, okay, even on that aspect, right? Even on this furry crap.
Okay, that's
Okay.
completely different though.
Right. Well, that's
You're
what
right. It is different. I
But
like
that's
being a
what's
It's not
furry.
entirely different. It's an extension of
well,
it.
that's what the litter boxes are for these kids who identify as quote unquote furries.
But no.
here
Furries do not identify as an animal. This is a dress up, like
Well,
as,
once
as
again,
drag
you're
is
right.
drag-
False.
As drag
Hold on,
is to
hold
being
on, hold on, you
trans.
guys. Hold on.
Like
What
drag
I-
is to being
once,
trans. It's
that's
not
fine.
trans.
Once
Oh,
again,
no,
once again,
I know.
They,
But
they have hijacked the the community, the scene, the LGBT, I mean the BDSM scene, and they've hijacked that into
Yep, that one.
a form of trans. And yes, I think it's a hot kink. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'll take a couple pets. You know, fun.
But-
um,
Well, it's
but
not furry though.
but they
But no, it
can.
is. So
Yeah,
this
that's-
is the problem.
that's-
No,
Go
the BDSM community is not a furry. A
I
furry
understand
is-
that.
Are.
Okay.
Are you-
That's-
That's exactly what it is.
There's
that's-
crossover at minimum.
yeah.
That's where it came from. The furry community was the BDSM community, right? And then all of a sudden it ended up in some cartoon or something, or some kids thing. And then all of a sudden kids are like, oh, I identify as a cat, I identify as a dog, and we're furries, and that's what they're saying. And I'm like, what the heck is happening here? Right? When did this happen?
It's called
So-
sexualizing. It's called sexualizing children. It's very predatory, and it's pedo. That's what it is.
Or is it
Like,
kids?
really-
Is it kids pretending? Like we all used to play
Really?
pretend and all this stuff, and now they
No,
have.
I get
Now
that,
they have
I
it.
get
Wait,
that.
hold on. Can I real quick? And now they have this cultural label
it down a
for it,
notch,
so
though,
they don't
Lil.
even know what they're saying.
Just
Right, but the problem is we took something that is an adult situation. We put it because I asked somebody recently where they're getting this from, and I do not remember what show it was. But so they took something that is an adult situation, put it into kid speak. These kids watched it, and now they're like, "Oh yeah, this is what we are."
I mean,
Right?
kids have access to the internet. Like we never. I didn't grow
but
up
this
with
is-
a computer in my house
absolutely.
until I was like 11. I'm
But
28.
this isn't the 11-year-old getting a hold of corn. This
No, I
is-
know,
this
but
is-
it's for
All right.
alone.
all right. Let me give you an example. Let me give you an
It's
example
also
here.
like
Real-
trans
real
story
quick.
time as well.
Real
It's like-
quick, let me give you an example here. Okay, so yes, maybe it originally it starts off as just a very minority of the community, right? But so like for example, my nieces come home from school about 6 months ago, asking my brother-in-law and my sister what gender they were because of an assembly they had in grade school, right? So then these kids have access to the internet. They say, well, what's a pronoun? What's a gender? And then they get a list of all of them. They're like, okay, which one am I? You know what I mean? Like, and then they find out more about that community. Then they find that aspect of the community, and now it's just a social conformity problem where people are starting to think other people are doing it, so I must do it type of scenario. And so it is toxic for society in a way. And so
Yep.
that's the point I'm trying to make.
by
Is that the
design.
internet, though, or is that
Bingo.
the
You
LGBT?
hit it right on the head. It's engineered
Is
by
that the-
design.
Is
Well,
that access to
I'm not-
information problem?
I'm sorry, what?
Is that more of an access to information problem? Because I guess the biggest thing is like I understand all of the concerns, like the again like the litter box thing was like denied. That's what when you said about the research thing. Like I have not found any credible, actual confirmation
Hey,
evidence.
I
But,
want to
like-
ask you.
but-
I want to
but
ask you a
hold on,
question when
real
you're
quick,
done.
real
I just want to ask you a quick
Um,
question.
Yeah, let her get 30 seconds. Go ahead.
It's and this is what I think we can all agree on, like these minority communities are kind of being blamed for essentially, I believe, is more of, I think it's a good idea that they're having assemblies to be like, oh, you know, like someone might have a trans dad, or maybe they have two moms or whatever. I think that's good. It should end there though. Just a basic definition, descriptions, like, and then leave it. It should know that it exists, but leave it after that. I think it's more of a parental issue and access to the internet and not monitoring what content your
Maybe
child
you're right.
is consuming. More
Look,
than
I'm not
anything.
denying.
Like,
I'm
they're
not
gonna,
denying-
because kids are gonna
Look.
play pretend, and then if I'm playing pretend, and then I'm like, oh, like when you're a child, like your imagination is wild, right? Like I'd be like, I remember kids pretending they were horses on the playground or whatever. If they had a name for it, a thing, and they wanted to say, "Oh, I'm a horse. I identify as a horse."
Different times,
It's like-
different times. But
Exactly.
here,
But, like now they
go-
have a definition to label themselves as, and like they're not they don't
Landon,
they
I-
grow
I
up
wanna
into
let-
horses.
I want to let Claudia go, but you know, once again, it's not that easy to censor your children these
I agree.
days.
I don't know the
And-
answer. I don't.
Yeah, so my
Parents-
point, real quick, and if Claudia can get her point out real quick, boys, and I really appreciate you being here, I really do. So I will let you go right after her. But now I lost my train of thought. But what I'm trying to say is, you can look at either scenario and either solution, and I think that once again, accepting not celebrating is the best way to solve this problem. Honest with you, but. Go ahead, Claudia, and try to make it around a minute if you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
before that, let me say real quick, because I have to drop. It's been wonderful talking to you, Lily. Sorry that I said, hey, we're not going to talk about this up here.
Right? It's okay.
But I'm glad that it's been a, you know, calm and maybe some answers, maybe some not answers, but some common ground, right? Common
Yeah,
ground.
of course. And I think we all want like children to be well and healthy at the end of the day.
Exactly. We all just want our kids to be safe, dude. I think that's the biggest thing. No matter what you're looking at, we all just want our kids to be safe.
Yeah. Thank you for the
And that's-
conversation. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You had
Facts.
good points.
Approach.
Love you much. Have a good night, okay?
Love you too, babe. All right. Good night.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
And you guys, this is what you're going to find on Approach's panel, is this type of moderation. But Claudia, please.
Oh, I
Tre-
was just listening to her. The same thing. I agree with what you're saying in terms of if you celebrate it, children also want to be validated. They want to be seen. They want to stand out. And so when they see a lot of their counterparts in school getting more attention or getting more breaks because they go, oh, you know, I'm this, I'm that, and the other, then they kind of jump on the bandwagon. I mean, when we were kids, you know, in punk rock and stuff, it was like cool to do that, be bi, or, you know, shave your head, shave all your hair off and be like, no gender. That's when this thing sort of took off, but you kind of grow out of it, right? But that again, just this transitioning or even tampering with any kind of like blockers or hormones it's a slippery slope and it's dangerous. And there's a big movement out. A lot of these young adults are in their mid 20s, 26, 25, and they're de-transitioning and they can't go back. So there's like a big movement with that now. And so it allows people to just kind of look at, you know, what is the rush to force these children to change their gender? I don't understand what that is. That's like, what is that about? Of course, I think the trans community should be safe, and we should have more laws about basically, assault and things like that for all people, you know, because it is very dangerous for transgender people to go into, you know,
20 seconds. Landon.
yeah, into the man's bathroom. That's really dangerous, you know. So I mean, maybe we can have like, you know, neutral gender. I mean, I don't know. Society's gotten really dangerous. I'd hate to have a kid right now, just regular kids, you know. It's really not safe. There's a lot of predatory stuff going on. So
Sure.
I think there's also hope in like the whole concept of the pendulum swinging really far one side and eventually it kind of levels out. Like it seems to me from what I've heard, because again, I'm 28, I have no children. I don't know what is going on currently with Gen Alpha. Just, I can't believe they named it that. That sounds so dumb.
Hey, so real quick, if I can let Voice, I know he's got something on his mind. I'd
Oh
love to
yeah,
hear it.
sorry.
Voice is great, by the way. He's a gentleman and a scholar too. So please, Voice,
I
what
just-
were you about to say?
I just think the pendulum's going to swing back and even out from this, I hope.
Well, yeah, the couple things that I noticed in the conversation, and one was when I stepped out and the conversation went to the very thing that ironically Avery said, we don't want to talk about this.
I know.
And then we took the ironic turn right into it. But I very much appreciate Approach's approach to the subject. I'm a little bit, I have a little bit of a stronger,
I'm a little
concern.
more liberal about it, but yes.
well, yeah, because I consider myself I identify as a libertarian. So libertine means basically live, and libertarian means let live. So I'm all for letting people find their own life and live there, instead of living their life like a textbook, live it more like a novel, right? Where it's a real page turner and people try interesting things. However, I became increasingly alarmed, whereas I gave basically a pass to this, and I have a family member that transitioned, so to speak, was basically, it was over 20 though, but they went to a psychologist, and the first thing the shrinks do is I'll coach them into this. Do you feel you're in the wrong body? My own position on it is that there is no such thing as a wrong body. It's anti-science. There is such thing of being wrong in the brain, and having a gender dysphoria is something that's happened. It happens increasingly based on certain environmental factors, including biochemistry, including in the womb and beyond, based on exposure to various chemical compounds that can disrupt things. But whereas we should show compassion to all people that are going through their respective journeys, I see this as a very much an agenda. And I have a reel that proves it, that's WEF types talking about how they're behind it and promoted it. And the motivation couldn't be more clear, because they are population reduction people. And so
Bingo.
this amounts to a spay and neuter program being
Yep.
exercised on American children and children around the world. And it's done through a state religion. That's the one thing the First Amendment doesn't prohibit church from being involved in politics, but it does prohibit the establishment of a state religion. And the rainbow thing, especially with the triangles in it, is a state religion. It's a symbol of state religion that's run from the top down. I have a family member's friend that was talking about her daughter. Oh, my daughter's really big into the rainbow and LGBT and all this. And so I go, gee, well, I wonder, what's going on with the school, because I have kids in the same system. Oh, no, it's not from school. It's from YouTube. And then she'd tell me that her daughter was just so caught up in the culture of this and how exciting. But this mother's position, because she thinks she's elevated because she grew up with somebody that they always thought was a certain way, and he turned out to be gay. And even though she's Catholic, she recognizes that gay is like a condition and you have to respect it and all that. So in her mind, what she's telling her daughter as a mother is, well, you should only think about this if you're serious about it. So it's like, oh, if you're seriously in the wrong body, then you can start hormone blockers, which is a permanent destructive thing. And when it chemically, it renders them basically impotent forever in terms of reproduction. And it also makes them a lifelong big pharma customer, where they have to take these HRT off-label prescriptions forever. And if there's ever an SHTF situation where society falls apart, nobody's going to have access to this. And what kind of life disaster are they going to be living then when they're off this sauce? But the other thing is that these the hormones are totally damaging to their
30,
physical
30
health.
seconds, Voice. I'm gonna let you
Oh,
go
I
on.
could
'cause you've
listen to
been-
him for 2 hours.
I can too.
He
but that's
literally
why-
nailed everything I was.
That's
I
why.
was-
That's
I
why I
brought
like
up.
Voice to talk, but I let him continue.
I
but
do
I'm
have
not-
to go.
I
My
could
dog,
listen
my
for
dog's
3
scratching
hours.
has been scratching at the door. I didn't want to interrupt.
Oh,
I'm so
Oh,
Okay.
let him in. Let him in.
Okay.
It's cold out.
Oh no, no,
Well,
no!
hey,
Scratching to go out.
Lil,
He's having some bowel issues recently, and
Lil,
he's a
I'm really
little
glad
guy.
you came up. Okay, I really appreciate you, and that's why I continued. You're like the only person I like on the left that I'm like, oh, I'll chat with her. Plus, you're cute. So
Thank
yeah,
you.
if you lived in LA, I'd take you out in a heartbeat. But you know, anyways,
I appreciate it. I do have a reputation of either you either love me or hate me, and I don't really understand. There's some people that do not like me, but I try to be
No, I
very
know.
reasonable with the other
dude,
side.
look, I know some people don't like you, and I'm like, Lil, yeah, I can see why that
Oh,
you don't.
I've gone on panels. I've just like been scrolling, and it's just my name. Like I don't even comment, and they go, "Oh my God, Lily!" I don't follow a single one of them. I have no idea who they are.
Well,
Um,
Lily,
I-
it was
well,
an honor
I'm used to it.
speak
I got
with
thick
you.
skin though. I got thick skin. Sometimes I get heated, but only if it's I don't get heated for no reason. You got to push my buttons one or two many times.
Yeah,
you're
Lily, you
always-
sound
you're
like a
always
very
reasonable.
nice person. I want to thank you for.
Yeah, you
kind of
sound
doing
really
so.
nice, girl, and it's not left, right. We're just people.
That's my biggest thing. Like if
Yeah.
Trump, like I'm anti-Trump. I would love to be so wrong about my concerns more than anything. I would in 4 years from now, if every
Just hang tight. Look, things are gonna get better. All that stuff is like.
I
it's
would love
baloney
that.
about
That's
him.
it's,
Look, he was already in. None of that stuff happened, right? But we're in trouble.
I don't like the
even
team
know if
red,
he's gonna
team
get
blue.
in. I don't even know if he's gonna
Like
get in.
blindness and the just like following. I see issues on both sides. Like y'all, the same pharmaceutical lobbyists that you were just talking about pay the same like Democrats and Republicans. It's just like I am very
Oh,
like
wow.
want to
Lil,
do well for the American people, and I'm not trying to be right or be.
yeah, Lil,
Well,
I'm gonna go live more, and you know, I'd love to have you up because you're one of those people that I would like. Oh, I'm like when we first started talking, I'm like, okay, like we're finding common ground, her and I. So I appreciate that from you.
Yeah, we
So-
have a long history.
That's why but you realize that's why they don't want RFK in, and all Democrats are going to vote no on him. And we've got like in the Senate, I think there's like 7 Republican senators that don't want him in. So it's a
I mean, it's
a
like definitely
uniparty.
established
It's
Democrat.
a
Like,
uniparty. It's money and corruption, and it's the big lobbies. It's big pharma, big
All
ag.
right, Lil, go take care of your dog.
Yeah, and I think that's why the right likes me because I can talk shit about the Democratic Party and their the whole thing for hours, and now I don't like them. But yeah, I'm gonna go, guys. Thank you so much for having me. I'll see you around Approach. I appreciate
All
it.
right.
See you. Yep. Bye.
But voice, yeah, you definitely were saying everything that I was trying to make the point, but yeah.
So Voice and I have become like close on here. So like, you know, we even chat off online, and I love when this man talks. He is always just reasonable and just you're so patient, and I appreciate that from you.
Oh, thank you. You're very kind, and very much appreciate the generous opportunity to connect on some of the lives that we get to enjoy together.
Voice, so you're saying from the WEF, way up at the top, like the whole public schooling, Department of Education, the whole thing. I mean, just basically, with psychiatric drugs for children, if you're a boy in a class, I mean, I don't even think women should be teaching boys, to be honest.
Well, like,
your
recently,
kid is not sitting in class and he's disruptive. Like, boys should be outside doing things, using critical thinking skills. I mean, they basically have castrated men. You know what
We
I'm
know.
saying? It's terrible.
we know we're men. We know.
They've pathologized all males and basically put them on ADHD drugs and very
Yeah.
dangerous things that do permanent brain damage.
Oh, I know it's so bad. You know what? I'll tell you this, man.
And then it's turning them into basically a docile. They need to
Dude,
basically neuter
my-
men.
My son,
able to take
right
over.
when he was younger, I was a single father. He was 3 months old. I took him on, and then his mom years later, she wanted to become part of his life again. and she pulled her shit together. And I told her if she did that, then of course. Um, but when she finally came back into his life, behind my back, she tried to put him on those rugs
Ritalin.
because he was falling behind in school. He was very young. He was like in the he was like in the fourth grade, right? And so, when I found out, I was like, this is fucking bullshit. Are you, I mean, of course I raised hell on her. And I didn't do anything with the cords. I didn't do anything like that. But her and I have a really close relationship. We're homies. Like her husband and her kids, they come over for Christmas. It's all good. You know what I mean? But I got him off of that, and thank God I did then, because you know how it goes in the long run. And I just decided to put my money towards tutors. All my money went towards tutors at the time. You know what I mean?
Aw,
And he just
sacrifice.
he did so well after that. And he went to San
Good job.
Marcos. Yeah, he went to San Marcos College, and then he dropped out because he wanted to become a firefighter, and he's a firefighter now. So proud of the boy.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So really happy for him.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So
Awesome. But yeah,
I
the
was
same
like,
with women teaching men and boys and sit down and just emasculating them. They should be like climbing the walls, playing with sticks, or, just doing what men do. You know what I mean? Like having wrestling, I mean, just the public school system is really everything that's coming through
but
from way up top is just coming through the
But real
education
quick,
system.
along the lines that you guys are both talking about, as far as of course it's orchestrated, it's well organized, it's all on purpose. Uh, what's the word I'm looking for?
Engineered.
Carefully engineered and so on, right? Um, and look, man, like I am so convinced these days. You know me and my rabbit holes, um, right, Claude? So, so clearly this is the "you will own nothing and be happy" regime.
Yep.
Yep.
Tr
Satan Klaus.
Yep.
100%. It's like
Oh
I
my
don't
God. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Trending at #1 this week on Prime. I was like,
Exactly.
I was like, what is this? And I put it on. I was like, oh my goodness. Okay, I'm toast.
Oh my God. And because it's like, dude, all I've been doing with my life recently is studying Marx and Mao and
Isn't
Lenin.
it freaking you out? Because
Well, okay,
they're rolling all this stuff out now. I mean, it's
so
like I can't even go back and study.
I've always dabbled, but now I'm like really studying this new form of Marxism, cultural Marxism, the Marxism with an American twist,
Yep.
as Mao would
Or
have
they
put it.
called it Maoism with an American twist because it's
Well,
Cultural Revolution
well, hold
redone.
on. Mao
Yeah.
Mao said what he did was Marxism with a Chinese twist. Those were his
Yes,
words.
exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So, but what they're doing is they're taking everything that worked and they're leaving everything that didn't work, right? And now, but yes, it is a manufactured oppressed class, just like Marx taught, you know what I mean, through propaganda and so on. And when I look into the key players who you and I have talked about, Voice, um,
Yep.
and they've positioned themselves, they've well organized themselves, they've created quite the fortress around them too, which is impressive, to say the
Yep.
least. It's been a long time going, probably pre-80s even, that they've been working on this.
Yeah, I wrote a paper in my
Okay.
in 1979 or 80 I was a junior in high school, and I wrote a paper about this gender role stuff. And I was writing about the theory, the surgical thing that Dr. Money did to this boy to make him into a girl. And what I didn't know at the time, and then the sociology teacher, she was like a leftist woman, so she loved my paper and gave me an A. But at the end of the paper, I sort of said, well, all of this is these examples are from a film, so it's not necessarily valid as evidence. So I basically said everything she wanted to hear and kind of unwound it in the last statements and still got the A. But at that time, I was very open minded to it all because I'm in high school. I thought I was a Democrat back then. And, but anyway, this stuff was, yeah, they were working on this concept for decades. And Dr. Money was from the 50s. He was the first one in American, well known in America, to coin gender and apply it to people. And that was the genesis of this notion that of this new religion where you're told that, oh, when we're born, the doctor assigns us a gender, and then we have to wait till our third grade teacher helps us discover which one we really are.
Well, I forget, was it someone that Marx read, that he looked up to, an author, I forget his name, but he said, all that is truth must perish. So anything you can imagine yourself to be is he wanted to rewrite what the meaning of humanity was, right? And
it's reversing everything down to the fundamentals, and that stripping everything away, all the fundamental understandings, is in spiritual terms demonic.
Yeah, the 1984, and then read Animal Farm. It's all in there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all upside down world. What's good, what's evil, what's
We're all
evil, what's
mad
good.
here.
Yeah,
And then the element, the voice. So obviously the Baphomet reference
Yes.
to the whole trans thing. The hermaphrodite, the Baphomet. So
Yep.
it's really like a real slap in the face. It's like to the creator.
And it's also depriving all these kids, the same sort that put masks on tiny school children, so they can't even robbing them of their face, and their very breath. The same villains are basically putting everything upside down. Before the poor kids have a chance to learn about the birds and the bees, they're learning that everything's the opposite of what you think. So it's like so insidious, and in secular terms, you'd say destructive, but I'd be inclined to use the word evil on it. It's just a very real horror show that's being pushed.
It's pure evil. I mean, that's why they're talking about dismantling the Department of Education. They need
they're the ones that
gut that shit. I mean, I hopefully January 20th.
I've heard the other argument that to keep it around for a little bit to correct the agenda in a sense,
to re-steer the ship.
Exactly. So
no, because it's just like shuffling chairs on the Titanic.
It's a
like
risk. No.
That's what they say. You just have to just gut the whole thing, and then just put the money to follow the kid, right? You know how you invest a lot of money in your tutorial.
True. Honestly, from a libertarian perspective, for Voice's sake, obviously you want to just dismantle the shit out of it. Yeah, you know what I mean. But
the dollars will still go towards the kid, and like as a parent, you can choose if you're going to homeschool your child, if you're going to enroll him in a Catholic school or a Jewish synagogue school, or Montessori or an art school or liberal arts school. It's really that's a thing between the child and the parent. I mean, we have a lot of parents that are completely checked out on drugs and not present. I mean, we're talking about these kids that are going through this whole thing, but how about kids that come home and there isn't even milk in the refrigerator? Their mom's MIA. Where's the father? Nobody gets home till 11 o'clock at night, and they're drunk or they're on drugs. These kids go through the foster system and they disappear. I mean, we have millions of kids in the United States going through that. You know what I mean? Literally.
Yes, ma'am.
It's just, it's like we are just, as a society, if we don't really steer the ship the other way, we're toast. And I'm so glad I didn't have children.
I'm so glad we won the election.
Every day, because I couldn't bear to suffer and watch this whole thing go down, and just I mean.
Yeah, what were you gonna say, Voice?
Sorry, Voice.
Well, another thing was brought up: the comparatively functional form of parents, divorced. There's horrible leverage and things that will be done. There are many cases where the divorced wife will purposely transition boys to quote unquote girls, transition as a revenge against the man they divorced. And there's many cases of this. It's like to weaponize. And probably the best thing that I can offer on the subject without getting myself scrubbed from TikTok forever.
Yeah,
It-
just use code, of course.
Yes, but I did speak rather freely on the subject with a collection of memes, video clips, and written words. If you go to waronpress.com, there's an article called Weaponization of Lunacy. And it covers both CRT and gender theory. And basically, where you basically, and CRT is also destructive because it basically attacks both the allegedly oppressed and the quote unquote oppressors in a horrible way. So it amounts to basically hate speech and child abuse framed as teaching history. And so CRT is like absolutely destructive, but the GT
That's a
is
Marxist
much worse.
component. That's a Marxist component to
Oh, yeah.
create a social. Before with Marxism, it was like a wealth class, right?
Now it's
the-
oppressed versus oppressors.
Exactly.
So they can
the
expand
creators-
the wheel in all directions.
Which
the
is
two
the
ladies.
Marxist.
Well, the two ladies are self-proclaimed Marxists that changed that into
Yes,
CRT,
correct,
and then they
correct.
went to the Frankfurt School, which is clearly a
Yep.
Marxist,
Cultural
yeah.
Marxism 2.0.
Yes, sir. It's all
Yep.
Marxism. Like I said, it's the "you will own nothing and be happy" regime, and
Yeah.
what they're doing is they're using some of the weather under the soil. I'll say it like that. People who are part of this as well. It's a lot of professors from the '60s, of course, and a lot
Yep.
of these people are involved. They're just
Good
part
code.
of the network. They're part of the network. When people
Yep.
talk about the D state, it's not just one group. It's a network of groups, and
Bureaucracy. The
Oh, I
bureaucracy
must-
on all levels.
I must share that there's that one of the best video presentations on this was actually from the rather comedic Mark Dice. Had you seen Mark Dice videos much?
I love
no,
him.
send it to me.
He's great.
Okay,
I love Mark.
well,
He's
here's
really
the thing.
smart. He's super
This
smart.
was one of his videos that was so well presented that I made it a tool and I was going to share it with everybody. And then they actually took the video down because it was that good. But it's called, but I embedded it in an article. So if you look on War on Press and search on how communism is for and by the elite, and it refers to the communist conspiracy. And so Karl Marx was actually just an errand boy for much bigger fish. So he wasn't like the inventor of a dang thing. He would
No,
just
of course
basically,
not. Yeah,
yeah,
I
he
know,
was
yeah.
he was hired up by the League of Just Men and all these scumbags to create this.
I don't know
wild-
why. He was a shitty writer and he was lazy.
Oh yeah, in fact, his only job was working for some publication, and he whined incessantly about it. So, so yeah, he was an absolute no good scumbag, silver spoon elite,
He must,
snob.
have been, he must have been related to the Art Childs, if you know what I mean.
Uh-huh. So he was commissioned by these larger fish, but that Mark Dice presentation on the subject is perfect, brilliant, well researched, and very concise in a short YouTube.
Send it to
Since
me.
it's off YouTube, I embedded it in the article. So if you go to Warren Press and just look at the communist conspiracy or how communism is formed by the elite, it'll have that video embedded.
Okay.
Yeah, and they love it because that's why they're this whole thing with this administration and like literally opening the floodgates and letting China embed itself, right?
Yep.
Their model is the China technocracy to be able to control the ultimate.
Oh
the
yeah,
ultimate
social
model
credit
of-
score and all that. Yep.
Exactly. The ultimate example of the technocracy, the tyranny. They want it, how they want the rest of the world to be handled. So I mean, Trump's got to get in there like a vengeance and really just, You know what I mean? Like
Well,
just
he's got us helping as well. Like, people don't understand that the analytics of when you're out there getting the message out, if you have a live that has an average of, let's just say, 200 people listening at a time, that's an analytics of between 20 to 100,000 people that heard your voice that day. And then if you look at the percentage of people who are new into that live and how long they stay, let's just say it comes down to talking to a crowd of 10,000 people every day. You know?
yeah.
Yeah. It's
Uh,
quite the powerful network here that they have here that they do not want anymore. They don't want it.
Yep.
Yep. So
the Twitter sphere is pretty cool. I mean, thank God we had some people on the left wake up. But yeah, they don't really have the ability to do the lives on the Twitter feed. Where's that? Because are they going to shut TikTok down?
I don't exactly count on it with the Trump victory because I think it's good.
He likes it, doesn't he? Like it as a tool.
Well, we have friends on here that work on the Trump team, and so he had said, one of the guys that I talked to, not too regularly, but he said that Trump absolutely knows what we're doing on here, and he appreciates it. So, yeah, I'll leave it there for now. But either way, hey, you guys are amazing. I am going to shut this one down, and
All right,
if you want to give it a listen in the future, I'm going to put it up on my YouTube channel, which is Citizens Debate on YouTube.
Excellent. Nice to meet you, Claudia, by the way.
Nice meeting you, Tom. I'm gonna follow you. I hope you can follow me back because I want to just and then let me know. Let me know when you go live. Did you send me a little thing? Did you send me an ad?
I did.
Or whatever.
Well, no, I think I saw you come in, which I was really happy
There you
to see
go.
you. So yeah, really,
There
yeah,
you go. Oh, and
perfect.
I haven't seen you in so long, but happy holidays, wonderful, prosperous New Year, voice. Same to you. And next
Yes,
time we
Merry
talk,
Day After.
yeah, next time we talk, let's talk about the Dior bags in New Jersey.
Well,
Excellent.
I can't wait to see both of you soon again, and I'm going to be going live more often because I'm tired of the terrible moderating that goes on these lives, and I know I'll do a better job than them. So
Yeah, no, you did. You're doing great. You're doing great, honey. We'll see you soon. Okay.
yep. All right,
Good
guys.
night. Bye,
All right,
boys.
good
Excellent.
Probably be
Good night.
back. Bye, darling.
Later.